Welcome back, everyone. Um, for tonight, I'll be streaming a pretty cookie cutter, no spicy one ofs list. Essentially, I think I'm getting to another point where I kind of like where we're headed, and I think the list has stabilized a little bit again with the addition of gemstone caverns over chrome mox. Most of the other choices, I tried cutting pithing needle because I thought it didn't line up well, uh, as show and tell and other decks have cut or trimmed gristlebrand. Hey Josh, how's it going? But what turns out to be is I just think this card is just really flexible in general, and even though show and tell has cut gristlebrand, it's half the enablers in the deck are still sneak attack, and I think that at least strategic advantage of knowing that is still pretty important. So, not to mention it helps against something like DNT and lands as well, where it helps your mapping. I think the other thing that we've been doing a lot lately is just playing 4 endurance main deck, which I like a lot because your mana is better game one. You don't really need, and especially this is emphasized with only 2 Bowmasters and 2 Grist as your only black cards game one, so 4 total. Um, you don't accidentally lose against Moonstompy or Wasteland because you have to fetch value early, or less likely to. I'll put it that way. Hey Mike, how's it going? Hope you're enjoying your vacation. The other thing I like about it is some of the otherwise more swingy matchups are like Doomsday, Reanimator, Moonstompy, Lands, where it's just essentially the other side is trying to win on turn one or two or whatever. In the case of lands, they're trying to go like turn one sphere or like empty their hand turn one. Same thing with Moonstompy, and this gives you a proactive plan um, that is good against them, and or can you can just like evoking Cradle mana, right? Um, it is not great against control, but neither is Snuff Out, so that's kind of a wash there. I just think you get more percentage points game one because of it. All right, let's go ahead and get started, I guess. Well, hopefully, I can provide some entertainment for you, Mike, as as you're jet lagged over there in, I think you're in Vienna, but I could be wrong. Here's the list. Um, I typically like to play like one Leyline of the Void, but just there's no room. Ooh. So this is like a mode of 7 already with the hoof in hand. Um, I think a less disciplined me would have just like kept this anyways. Like this, there's a chance this doesn't do anything. I feel like this is a show and tell player. I don't know why. This username looks. There's an Emrakul uh, avatar. I feel like that's probably not where we want to be. This is probably better. I guess we can just put the grist back and see what happens. Maybe it was a mistake to mulligan that first time. I just felt like it wasn't great because I felt like it wasn't great because you're already on a mode of 6 and the endurance like it may or may not be relevant, right? And not to mention if they're on a tempo deck, that natural order looks pretty dead for a while. Obviously, this could be just scam, and then they could just bowmasters our arbor. Maybe reclaimer's better, but I think in case they don't have it, we just want to curve out. As a general rule of thumb, we don't really care. The bowmasters are X1 as well. Like they're just down a card, right? Like they spent 2 mana, answer a 1 mana thing. Sure, they have 2/1/1s, but generally those don't matter. Like at least unless you're getting cheese, but if you're getting cheese, that's you know, you're losing because of a different reason anyways. Like you're getting tempoed out. But typically speaking, I don't think the 2/1/1s really matter, and they're just sending themselves back on mana. Now, granted, if you can't capitalize off that tempo, then they come out ahead. But generally speaking, we can. It looks like they're on Shadow. Looks like they didn't get the memo that they're not supposed to play Snuff Out in this Bowmasters metagame, right? We don't care because, we don't draw cards, but they do. But, so that's like been one good thing about, this Bowmasters metagame for us. Namely, we often don't have to worry about opposing Snuff Out as well anymore. Now, I've seen it one copy in a lot of lists, but it's not like before where they would play 3 to 4 copies, right? I feel like we're getting scammed here. They take endurance. I think we run the artisan in 2 days. The reason why I don't play bios, I don't want them to waste me, and then if need be, I want to go turn 3 grist tick and play through wasteland here. Not to mention artisan. As a general rule of thumb, it's if you unless you absolutely cannot avoid it, I generally just play. Sorry, unless it's convenient. I generally don't care about days. Like I will run. Obviously, if it's 3 mana on turn 3 or turn 2, I try not to run 3 drops in the days if I have 2s and 1s. But generally speaking, like you should be using your mana every turn. Probably reanimate it. I think that's why they took endurance. Never mind. So the question here is, did they not find the reanimate because they took the endurance, or are they waiting to daze our grist into reanimate the grist? But even if they do that, I don't even think that's like that great, right? It's kind of slow now. Ooh, that's very scary. So I think we don't waste mana. I think also we rather them reanimate this than hey David, how's it going? So it looks like they're not on Death Shadow. It's probably just the Water Grave as the 5th Underground Sea. They pitched a Troll or they pitched a Borrower. That's fine. The way you lose this matchup, in my opinion, is you get one of your things reanimated inconveniently. So, like early grist or like God forbid, Atraxa gets reanimated. It's like kind of reasonable, I guess. Then we take the Cradle. Sure, I don't really care. Hope you're doing well, by the way, David. Okay, they only have 1 card left. What could it be? Alright, so I think the only tough decision there was just like what to take out the Once Upon a Time. I felt like if we can hit land drops just to play Magic, I think they just lose to this card. Now, obviously, they can just like put the troll into play. I actually don't even think it matters at that point. It's just too late now, right? I brought out Huff in this matchup because I don't think they can beat an Atraxa under most circumstances. Now, that can bite you, but it's just the card I don't really want to draw, is the logic. Hopefully you feel better though, David. We can't board and snuff out at this matchup. They had generally only black creatures outside of maybe three-ish Murktide Regent. Um, I think we just like we're almost pre-boarded against them. Like because we're not boarding it in snuff out. Um, Really, the only bad card is like Hoof and the Collector, and we like mapped it correctly such that we board in, the one flex spot and then the Cabal Pit. The flex spot being the Terra Sunder, which, not exciting, but I found to be pretty good. This is like a Moto 5 right here, right? A double Cradle here. That's a lot better. The reason why I didn't keep the Cradle hand, even though they could have Wasteland, is because if they don't have Wasteland, then you're severely punished, right? Looks like a Thoughtseize, yeah. Oh, I wonder what the red is for. Maybe Meltdown or something? It must be a light red splash, and the tell is they had Watery Grave. Now, if they were really on Grixis, scam, for instance, or I don't think they would play Grave because the implication there is they needed a fifth uh, Underground Sea. So my guess is the red is for something like Meltdown or some other sideboard hoser. Could be a daze. Nope. I think given that they tapped out here, I'm like very tempted to just endurance and essentially put my opponent behind. I don't want to give my opponent the opportunity to like brainstorm response and then days later on. I think sticking at endurance is like I wouldn't say it's a win, but it's like you're like close to it already, right? So here I just want to develop my mana. The logic here is like, if for some reason they daze and then waste me, then I'm set back, right? Like if I didn't Arbor, I want to essentially cast Endurance back-to-back turns, and I think they can't beat it. I'm betting on my deck here that they cannot beat an Endurance, or at least back-to-back Endurances is probably the better way. Obviously, the first one can get dazed or forced, right? I don't even think we care if it gets forced because they're just down a card. Days there will be pretty good, but I think given the second one in hand, we just run the first one out. Hey Job, how's it going? Hopefully your evening is going well. Um, so here it's like debatable what we want to do. I think we just want to once first and see. That's only one good card. Um, I think we want to play it out. In case they flash and kill our creature, we can just endurance and response through days. I'm fully expecting Bowmasters here. The other thing it could be is a Saron's Ransom. And the logic here is they had 3 mana, haven't done anything. So, like, you're expecting a flash threat here. The fact that they tap, I'm thinking is Ransom. Yep. Alright, what do we want to give them here? Voidwalker, I don't think they would take. I think the best card here for them is like. There's nothing reanimate either. So the worst card I think on this board state. So reanimate I think might be the best card. I think we want to split the reanimate and the push. The reanimate is. The problem is they're already pretty low. So what are they gonna reanimate? I think we give them the push, give them the Voidwalker, and then the reanimate and the brains. Oh, that's a lot. I think we give them the push though. Give them reanimate and Voidwalker. Oh, is it because they can't, reanimate our thing or what? Or yeah, but then they just take the other pile. Is what I'm saying. I want to split it. Yeah. So I'm with Josh. I want to split brainstorm and push. I think those are the 2 best cards here, and I think we do this. They'd be tempted to keep this. I think this is like slightly better. And we can play through days here, which is the best part about it, right? I don't actually think we care they push our endurance. But they took it, which is like falling into our trap, right? We kind of want them to do it, even though it looks like it may be good. I don't think we want to give them the brainstorm, though. Uh-oh, I just realized they have Murktide mana. I probably should have. Actually, let's tap it for black. So we know they have the push. It's not bad. I don't think we run the Arbor, and there's no need. They'll probably push the other endurance, which is fine. Never mind, they didn't do that. Why? Oh, they couldn't because they don't have a revolt. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, why is that? I thought they were like the first ones. I thought it was a lot of to be on Artisan. Actually, it's like kind of weird, right? Like we. Let's do this first. Oh, I see what you're saying. I like how the Europeans are. Sure, that's. Do I change anything here? I don't think so. It's definitely more combo-y. I mean, I'll tell you that much. Like, ESG is a little bit more, single turn combo effect, right? Maybe that's the best way to put it. Um, I think we just try to layer our opponent here, right? Just like everybody in. That is also pretty good. Man, they're gonna have to chump block. I think we main phase this here, so we get the extra. Because we're gonna have to tap anyways. Yeah, and then just run everybody. Um, I think. I guess we'll talk about that in a second. So for those who are curious, I wrote a article last night that got published, I guess today, right, about the differences in um, the accelerants for the deck. Now, I had been on Chrome Mox, and then, as a joke almost, right, like we were discussing a split between Elvish Spirit Guide and Chromox, and then I just casually threw out my Discord. Oh, now that you mention it, I kind of wanted to like split Mox with Gemstone Caverns because I don't really want to draw two copies of Mox, especially if you're playing the ultra aggressive list with three Moxes. You can go like 2-1. And as it turned out, I've actually really liked the Caverns a lot since kind of I wouldn't say it's a meme, but it's like an idea I didn't really take seriously. But I've liked it a lot over Mox because the floor is a lot higher. The ceiling is obviously lower. I think obviously the ceiling of Mox is to me the highest because on turn two it's generated 2 mana already. No other card that's available, in the context of our deck does the same thing unconditionally. Gemstone Caverns can do it, but only half the time. ESG does it for 1 turn, and then obviously land is the most stable. But long story short, there are a couple of ways to build a deck. I personally don't. I'm like all about being able to play my game, and what I mean by that is like the most stable mana possible, and ideally, given that constraint, or at least close to it, then you build the most powerful deck. Now, there is some debate internally about like what is the correct number of bowmasters. I personally echo the sentiments of Matt Ellington, who said he would rather play one bowmasters than three, and I'm kind of along that lines as well because I think having to cast black cards will stress your mana and potentially even cost you games, or at least make you just sequence awkwardly. And I actually don't think the third Bowmaster actually does that much. I think you beat or should beat all the fair blue decks already. Not to mention it's like kind of high variance against the blue decks in my opinion because they have it on their radar and they will play around it. So like there's been times where I draw my one or two of Bowmasters and my opponent has just proactively cast all the cantrips turn 1 and 2 because they're scared of it. Not that like I don't even think Ponder is even that bad against it personally if you're not winning X1s, but people have an irrational fear of giving the opponent extra mana or extra value. So what I mean by that is like I remember during the Ragavan era, the correct play was just to ignore Ragavan and just like let them have their mana. If they hit, a visionary at the time, which was a pretty good draw, then so be it, right? Like, but that essentially is still a tempo hit. I think you just do your thing and make your opponent stop you. Is kind of how I look at it. And I think Bowmasters, at least for my liking, I don't really want to draw two copies at the wrong time, which is why I only play two. I think the second one is like kind of neat because you can chain Bowmasters. It's like good against Infect, which I'm sure people will try again once Legolas's quick reflexes come out. Um, Whether it's good or not, that's a different question. I personally don't think it solves any of the deck's problems. Like it still loses to Plague Engineer. It still loses to like random things, like black red removal in particular, or swords. But and people will maybe you get somebody the first weekend or whatever because they don't know how to play around it. But then pretty soon after that, I would imagine most removal would be played main phase. So this is my 2 cents at least. This is a Storm player. This is not, to be honest, a great hand against Storm, but it does have one layer of protection. And really, unless you're mulling to collect a oof, I think you like kind of have to keep, right? It does have ramp too, which I like. Yeah, I don't think we're on the mull to collect a oof plan. This seems too dicey. Even if we know for sure opponent is on Storm. Sure. So it didn't matter. They had the turn too. Guess we can see what version they're on. The nice thing is they've drawn the tendrils, so there is a chance. Well, we'll see. I guess they can brainstorm. Uh, do we do anything right now? Probably not. I mean, our opponent already knows what we're on. Like, it's not like we're conceding anything. Like, conceding information, sorry. Well, F6. Alright, we're dead. Uh, Such is life. I don't think any hand would have beat that, right? Like, we don't have force in our deck. They didn't go to the graveyard. Maybe they're playing around endurance, presumably. Uh, Generally speaking, it's like anywhere from 2 to 4 copies in our deck, so pretty reasonable. I think line that they took. I actually bored out Bowmasters. I feel like it's too slow. I hear people say like, oh, it's good against any deck that cantrips. I don't necessarily agree with that because you're spending 2 mana, and if you're not gonna win the game against a combo deck, then it basically doesn't do anything in my opinion. What did we see off the ad nauseum? I don't think we saw anything we can needle. Teague is good. I think we swap a gemstone for a cabal pit, and then the question is like, do we want force? I feel like the answer is probably not. Like I don't. It's hard to say whether our opponent is going. I guess we can just cut this completely. I don't think we need the colorless mana, and we're keeping the layer in, so that checks out. Bowmasters, is it better than the other stuff that we have in? Might be better than Shepherd, but that's about it. Let's try it. Sure. I think our line here is like pretty cut and dry. We're gonna go seize into Reclaimer and hope to. So dress down or seize. I feel like dress. Well, I think we allow them to. Yeah, I think we take the dress down. I don't think we care if they seize us here. We could just as easily. Because the problem is, dress down answers whatever we get, anyways. So it means our top decks are better. They're gonna seize us most likely. Yeah, I don't think we actually care. Plays polluted delta, and then seize. Sure. Oof. I kind of like was awkward, but I think you don't. I think you do it there just in case, even though it's essentially time walked ourselves. They could have just top deck Inferno Tutor too, which would have been bad for us, right? If we didn't seize there. Shoot. Okay. So we got a little bit punished. They didn't. Oh, they didn't have anything to. They didn't have anything to pitch. I think it's gonna be ad nauseum from 14. Yeah. Shoot. I think we're dead. I think they have enough mana, but just in case. If we had been able to go Reclaimer there, we would have had more mana turn 3, and then we could have natural ordered this turn. But obviously, hindsight's 50-50. Like, they could have just as easily top decked the Infernal Shooter. Alright. It is what it is. I think that's something to ponder about in games going forward. Maybe we're supposed to take the turn, not take the turn off, but actually play to the board there with the reclaimers. That might have been the correct play. I'm gonna take a quick restroom break, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. I thought about the previous game a little bit while I was, walking over to the restroom. I think given that we had seized the previous turn, they only drawn one card, and without Forcible in your deck, I think you kind of live with top decks. I think given that we knew their hand the previous turn already, our line should have been probably just play both Reclaimers and then just live with one top deck, right? Or two if you count the impending card draw. The thing is, if we had not seized on one and we just had something else, for instance, and we top deck the seize, then I think it's correct to play seize there and be safe. But given that we already knew the texture of their hand, I think in hindsight, I probably, hopefully not just being results oriented, but in hindsight, I think I would have played two Reclaimers, seize on three, because that really opens up our mana, right? And not to mention sets a bog. Xana 0. Pretty reasonable hand, I guess, or reasonable enough. I feel a lot better about that now. Sure. Um, I think we just want like given that they went turn one grindstone without, I feel like they have a combo hand. Uh, like I, we already have the dork here. I think it's the cradle. The other thing I was considering was the Fiend Artisan, but we already have the Oof in hand, and we would have to. It would force us to run out the Artisan. Uh, what's going on here? Oh, they were playing the blue version. Interesting. We have endurance in hand, so we can pitch. I think I like doing that. Doing this. Maybe they force this. I don't know. Sure. I think we're in a pretty good spot now, given that the collective was resolved. They're gonna make a construct. It's gonna be hard, I think, to lose from here. If they want to put back grindstone, I don't think we care, right? They're probably gonna needle the oh, no, okay. I thought they were gonna needle over the reclaimer, but Shadow Spear is interesting. That tells me they either don't have needle or maybe they think they can play to an out over oof. Volcanic is kind of scary. Do we care about that? I feel like probably. Well, it's another damage. I feel like we don't. And we'd rather just have the creature on board. Hey Levi, how's it going? It's going okay. We're just streaming a league. We're 1-1. We beat Scam and then we lost to Ant. I think barring something crazy, we should have it here though. I actually think our combo matchup is probably the best it's ever been. Given that, at least my version, I'm playing 4 main deck endurance. I probably made a wrong judgment call game 2, and then game 1, they had turn 2 combo on the play. I don't think any hand, no matter how we build the deck, is gonna beat that. So, Storm, admittedly though, is probably one of our worser matchups because it's more immune to endurance. Like they have lines that like ad nauseum like ignores the graveyard, right? Um, Probably Needle the artisan here, I'd imagine. Show and tell similarly like essentially fast combo that can ignore endurance. I think Reanimator is pretty even, just because they have show and tell sideboard and like you don't know you're supposed to mull for graveyard hate game 1. They have discard anyways. Doomsday, I think it is a very good matchup. Here, I think we just do that. Sometimes you can. I think it's fine post board, but like again, like I probably made the bad judgment call in game two and cost me. Um, Here they can attack. What did they get off the? They got an ensnaring bridge. I think we get the lair in case it matters. They probably attack. We go to 10 or whatever. They don't. If they can't bridge us, okay. We have the game here. So like a million damage, right? I think what we do here is we animate. That gives Cradle one more mana. And then pitch. It doesn't really matter, but. I'm just showing Levi the cool tricks that we can do, I guess. But yeah, I would say our worst matchup might be show and tell, just because endurance has no text, or if you're lucky, it's a lotus pedal, game one. I would say we're pretty set up against. Yeah, I'll bring up the list. I think with four endurance main, and I think this is like, I've gone to the point of legacy where I think you just kind of have to have force of will or some variant of it, and I kind of view this as the green force now. Uh, Obviously, it's not foolproof the way force is, and even force like it doesn't even stop shepherd or like random things, right? Or cavern. But I like endurance a lot, just so you can randomly win game one against Reanimator and Doomsday, which I think are hard game one. You can get lucky with Collective, but I would say you're a dog game one, and then excuse me, and it's like still good against Delver, right? And unlike Snuff Out, it doesn't force you into black as much game one, so you can actually fetch basics more often and not randomly lose to like lands, for instance, and where endurance is conveniently really good. It's been good actually, and actually even before going to endurance main deck, when we had 2-2 split with Snuff and endurance, it was already the tide was already shifting in my opinion. I think I talked to Inigo recently. He said he's like 7-1 or whatever in the last 8 matches against lands. It's and I've been like I think since adding Crow Mox and what is like caverns now. I think I at 1.1 like 8 in a row as well against lands. Granted, some of the pilots were like trying like funky versions. I think Ali, when I played him at the time, he was playing I don't know, some weird green cantrip. I don't remember. I think it might have been Stirrings, which is good, but maybe not in lands. Um, okay, we are playing against this. So I think we just want to go Snuff Out, Tear Asunder, Needle probably. I don't think this does anything this matchup for the most part. Probably not. We're on the draw. I think on the draw we can board out the Hydra, and then we have two more cuts. I actually don't even play Karagas. I just don't think that's how the games play out anymore, Levi. Like it's our deck is like very linearized now in a good way, I guess. Actually, let's just do this. I think the reason why the lands matchup is good now is because we have fast mana, so like you can actually get out of their lock, and actually the play patterns are a little bit different now, where like compared to before, where you kind of have to go wide. In this version, you can kind of go tall. Now maze is a little bit of a problem, right? Because it beats our exalted game plan. Like one game plan that we have that is like kind of effective against them is you just play out all your dorks, just they pay for themselves, and then one creature bashes for like 5 a turn, right? And that actually adds up. Um, that we keep. The problem is that's a little bit weak to maze, but if they maze us, they're still down to land, right? Like it's and you can still win against maze overall because of natural order later on. Long story short, the fast mana combined with the fact that you can actually go tall is what has flipped the matchup in my opinion. And it's not just me, because I think a lot of people like their barometer is well, yeah, how you're doing well with it, but how are the other pilots doing? And the good thing is, I think all of the other pilots are doing well with it as well. But yeah, the long story short is essentially you can go tall. You're not pricing like losing a tabernacle more or less. Not to mention there's some cool lines where you can just like pitch your arbors or whatnot and pay for the artisan, and then it grows the artisan. You just like put them on a fast clock. Yeah, between artisan, reclaimer, and well, reclaimer is probably mostly playing defense, but between artisan and endurance, you can actually attack for a lot now. You have two volcanic. That's interesting. Oh, I think I might have misboarded. I think they are playing a different deck than I thought. I think they're playing the blue red like yeah. I misboarded. The deck that I think Bob Huang played before and like some other people, where it's like Saga, not the Saga. It's like blue red with a painter splash. Although I don't know, maybe we're not with traders. Now I'm like confused. I don't know what our opponent's doing. How's school, Levi? Hopefully you're doing well. Conveniently sets up the Force of Vigor next turn too, which is kind of neat. Uh, sure, I guess. Yeah, so depth is definitely a problem, and the other reason why I think it's helped a lot is because well, we boarded it in, but the pithing needles have been really good, in particular. That's good. As long as you're having a fun time. I think college is like one. College and maybe post college were like two of my favorite time. Two of my favorite periods in time. During my life, I guess it's probably the best way I can explain it. College because you're just with all your peers at the time. I think post college, like assuming you get a job, you have a little bit of money, which is like pretty neat. I think that's fine. Oops. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. For those who don't know, by the way, Levi is probably one of the best Magic players. No qualifier, just that I interact with. Even for a young, age in college, right? He and I worked together on, the modern green white reclaimer deck that eventually got Field of the Dead banned. So that is my fond memory of Levi. All right, we won there, 2-0, 2-0. But oh, okay. Going back to the depths matchup, I think yes. Levi brought up a good point. Like Merit Lage is obviously really scary, but I found Caracas and talking with Mats, like the card is just like not very good in my opinion because if you don't have crop rotation, it's like slow with Reclaimer, even though that gives you inevitability. Now, there's an argument to be made, it's only one slot, but what I've found out is when you have Reclaimer and not crop rotation, it's kind of easy for your lands opponent to pivot. when necessary. So, for instance, if they see you get Caracas, they can easily pivot to the Saga plan, or they can waste you off Caracas before going for it. Not to mention, I think Caracas is literally only good against depths. Against Uro, you don't really want it to get into that game kind of game anyways. You just want to bog and move on if need be, or endurance one time via Green Sun or Artisan and move on, right, so to speak. I don't think you want to get into this grind game where Caracas is relevant. Exactly right. So again, you have to kind of expose it unless you want to play crop rotation. But then there's like diminishing returns. Like, well, what is crop rotation like really good against? Like, well, it's good graveyard hate, but you already have bog. How much more graveyard hate do you need? Like, not to mention the scariest card out of Reanimator postboard is really show and tell. So I'm not sure like more graveyard hate is really want to be where you want to be. Not to mention it plays into opposition agent, which is probably the scariest hate bear against us. Um, on that topic, I know. Thank you for the raid, Lord Beerus. Some people are playing opposition agent. I think if you really want to win the mirror, it helps. Specifically, the green mirror against something like a cloud post where they don't have many outs to it. I've found against in this exact mirror, you don't actually really need it to win. You can actually just continue to tax their mana. So the low key thing about Artisan is if you don't have the mana, this is actually not as scary because it just becomes a Tarmogoyf, right? Like it's a big beater if you don't have the mana. So what you can typically do if you're ahead and you get untapped with Artisan first is just chain out a few Bowmasters and tax their mana while growing your board, and essentially that will set them back far enough before you can get Natural Order or or even pull further ahead with either Gris or Atraxa, right? Like that's typically the game plan. But Needle is really nice because Atraxa conveniently sees Needle very well off a hit. And if you can Atraxa early, especially with the fast mana, you can just lock out their outs. Not to mention, this Terra Sunder is like really important because it kind of serves as the Caracas out. You Atraxa into Terra Sunder, and then there's your out now, right? Granted 4 mana, but Atraxa can chump block one turn if need be. Not to mention, this is just a better card than Caracas. I get to board this in against Delver, whereas Caracas I cannot, right? Welcome everyone from Lord Beerus, by the way. Thank you for the raid, and hello, Renatus Vampirus. All right, so to recap so far, we beat Scam, which I think is a pretty good matchup. So when LQR got spoiled, I thought, man, this card reads really broken, and I think I might have been a little bit too high on that card. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Veil of Summer, where I'm sure the blowouts are just going to be insane, but it's not good by itself. You kind of need a board presence already. Uh, and you also it's like it messes with your normal play pattern, so it can be telegraphed. It's probably better than something like a Terra Sunder, and we have room maybe like to trim a Dork or something main deck. Like I like the consistency of just having a bunch of good one drops. This is a mole. I don't consider Shepherd or I don't consider Shepherd a. Yikes. Sure. I don't consider Shepherd a good one drop. So between 7 Dorks in my list and 4 Reclaimers, that's 11 plus 4 Green Sun. Like strong turn 1 plays, I guess, right? Uh, I would be happy if Infect or Combo Elves, got more popular again. Because those tend to be our best matchups. The decks that lose to Plague Engineer. Not that we're playing it right now, because I don't think it's actually needed. That's kind of interesting. Yes, I think that's probably pretty accurate. I think it's outside of protecting like a hate bear, right? It's like kind of otherwise dead against combo. I think we know our bottom card, so we're gonna once first. We don't want to see the Atraxa here. The collector oof well actually I think we just want to hit land drops. I think we don't really want anything here, so Yeah, I think maybe like one. Like that's a question I've been asked a lot lately. Like, how many copies? Initially, I thought, man, maybe this card's just too broken to be like three or four, right? But I think thinking about it more, given that it's not even hard removal, like it's very conditional removal, it doesn't replace Snuff Out at all. I don't know why they did that. It doesn't replace Snuff Out, and then maybe they're gonna loam right now. Yeah. I shouldn't have done that. Like that was bad. I tunnel vision. I should have just hit the loam once it's So that was a mistake. That was a misplay. I'm supposed to hit the loam because they have exploration. If they don't have the exploration, then I hit the card. I might have just lost myself the game to be honest because of that. Yeah, I don't think it. I think majority of the time it's not gonna kill something because like you have to attack with it, right, or tap. So X1s are also like not very good at the moment because of bowmasters in terms of like you don't really want too much. Like if you want to play X1s, they typically have to be one ones. Sorry, one mana creatures because at least you're ahead on tempo against bowmasters. Yeah, yeah, they could against. So I think I might like screw that up here, right? Like not hitting the loam. I got tunnel vision. Maybe they think we have more endurance because we did that, and they don't want us to get time walked here. But it's because like, otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? Hmm. The path to victory in this matchup is Cradle, and I think I need to shut off their loam. I found Grizz doesn't really do anything in this matchup. Hmm, sure. Yes. Yeah, yeah. I actually think Chris is kind of bad in this matchup for what it's worth because like again they're hell bent on stopping you from going wide. Um, I actually bore Gris out. I don't think it does much. Like sometimes you get lucky and like they don't have it, but they generally do. The game was really lost though on my poor play on the what's it called? I didn't pay attention and autopiloted. Didn't pay attention to the exploration on the board, and that probably lost the game on the spot. To be honest. All right, now that's gonna be a problem. Yeah, I actually think we win this game if I didn't because they're hell bent, right? If I didn't mess up there. So, because essentially what happens is they're hell bent. They're just essentially drawing one a turn instead of three a turn, and then we get off the ground, right? Not to mention, we would not be down a card. What did we pitch? We pitched the hoof. I guess that doesn't matter. We'll just do it the hard way. We'll get games 2 and 3. This is what I mean, right? Like they're essentially drawing dead for multiple turns if I didn't screw that up. Um, the problem is it's not 0%, but I guess in the interest of chat, I'll concede. Okay, now it's definitive, right? All right, let's not try to duck it up again. So I feel like we don't have any margin anymore because we lost game one. But like I said, I think this matchup is probably okay. I think that's correct. Yeah. So again, I board in the Cabal Pit because it kind of like maps pretty neatly because when you're on the play, you can just board in the Cabal Pit for the Gemstone Caverns. And in other matches where you would board out the lair, you can actually board out the second caverns. No, for sure. I think more importantly than anything else, like whether win or lose, I think you kind of see how that would have played out. The game would have been completely different if I had timed that appropriately, right? Like instead of just tunnel visioning there into the endurance because we had the pitch ready. I think what ends up happening is they get their ghost quarterback, but then really they're drawing dead for multiple turns because now they don't have an engine, right? And then it doesn't mean we win, but I would say we're favored from there because essentially what happens is we're gonna draw Fiend Artisan or Natural Order at some point, and that should close out the game. So on the play, sorry, on the draw, I would board out the Cabal Pit and board the Gemstone back in. I have to leave one here because the layer is already kept in anyways as an extra green source. But in other matches where I would board out layer, like against fast combo, for instance, uh, then I would have the second caverns right coming out. I didn't even think about that, but it was more it not intentionally, but it was more so because I got to the habit of like playing these one-offs that are like impossible to play around. But I think before I do that, I want to just like shore up the like mirror lage matchup, I guess, with or other matches with needle. So for instance, I'm of the type that I will play one Leyline of the Void because I find that's the highest equity because if your opponent is playing around one Leyline of the Void, then you've already kind of like got value out of it. And if they aren't playing around it, then when you do draw it, they're pretty much cold to it. So that's kind of the logic. It's something I learned from Jonathan Zhang, who convinced me like one ley line or like one. Obviously, I don't think Mindbreak Trap's a good card, but for instance, something like that, one ley line of Sanctity, one like Chalice of the Void, which basically puts the onus on your opponent. Like, are you willing to just lose to that 10% of the time? Obviously, you can play more, but then they're more rewarded for boarding in the answer. And also there's diminishing returns because one ley line is roughly what, 11%. Two ley lines is not 22, it's like 20-ish%, and then so on and so forth, right? Or I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not linear, obviously. Sure. Not to mention something like a ley line is even, it's a little bit different because it's an enchantment too, so it's like very hard to deal with. All right. So the question here is, I probably shut off their reclaimer. And then I think the way we lose here is they could have Saga, obviously. Um, Depends if we want to name Saga or Thespian Stage. I feel like we can beat Saga, so I'm just gonna name Thespian Stage. They're gonna waste us, I believe. Sure. Oh, I ducked that up. I could have been able to kill it, but that's okay. I can still do it later. So we cost ourselves 2 points of damage there, but that's okay, I think. We wasted their mana for a turn at least. I actually think it's better for us if they pay the mana, because they're just gonna tax themselves every turn. We need to draw lands though. A Force of Vigor would be pretty sick right now too. And just hit their Mox Diamonds. That's probably scoop on the spot. The nice thing about Needles is because they're not a creature, like it really punishes opponents if they uh, try to bring in like removal on you or something like disenchants because you only have two of them. Yeah, one card. Wonder what it could be. We're attacking here. So we have a force. If they waste us, I think that's okay. In case they want to ghost quarter us, like we want to draw more lands is the thing. Like eventually hit natural order. They might get Saga here. It feels like they have crop rotation. Or maybe they thought they had Reclaimer activation up. It just occurred to me that it didn't matter that we played it off the Verdant there because we're gonna have to pay for if we're gonna pay for the Reclaimer. Or maybe the idea is maybe we don't need to do that. We can just pitch the Arbor then. Okay, what are they getting? Wasteland? Sure. That would be the punish, I guess. For not getting the basic there. They just try to deny our mana. Let me think about that. If I get basic, yeah, I guess they can just get Ghost Quarter. They know, assuming they play it right, they know we have the second one already. That's fair. That is a fair point. So I think the line now is we're just gonna grow the Fiend Artisan. This is what I mean by we can just go tall now, right? Like I don't think normal traditional L's like is winning this game. Uh, yeah, for sure. I think given how this is playing out, like this is what I mean by Fiend Artisan being going tall is like pretty relevant, or Exalted going tall. You just don't care, I think. Sure. No, I think we're all in on the Artisan plan. If they have endurance, we're kind of screwed, but I think we'd be screwed anyways. In case it matters. Maybe one more chump block for our opponent here. The nice thing about Reclaimer and Artisan is Graveyard Hate can matter against them, but for the most part, it's like -1 card for our opponent if they try to do that. That's game now, I think. Maybe we just give them that, like, to be honest, too. Although here it's like a tempo play, right? Like, they have to waste more time doing that. They're gonna block the Artisan here now. The problem is maybe we're supposed to just wait till so we don't get a maze, right? Like that's probably how we lose. So again, I might have just like jumped the gun there. They get a wasteland and depth spam, but I actually like it doesn't matter, right? I think as long as they don't have maze, we don't care. They have one card left. Stage, okay. I should have tapped wrong. I should have done it the other way. So I get punished here if they flip a maze. They didn't, luckily. But yeah, I have to like we have to know the situation, right? Like a bad play by me. They have exploration out this time, but the thing is, we don't actually care about wasteland or stage or depths because we already have them locked with Needle. So I think we let that happen. We just only care about maze. If they have a natural crop or maze, then we live with it. But I don't think we give them 3 looks. Here, I think we want the Gemstone Caverns, and we can board out the Cabal Pit now. Everything else is like the same. But like I said, I think a traditional glimpse of nature like loses that game there because they can't go wide, right? Mm. So question here is, do we keep this hand? It's got no free spells. It has Needle. Artisan is pretty lackluster here. It's got Ramp though. I think we have to keep. It's probably on me if we lose this match because I should not have lost game 1. There is a scenario here where we just lose to Merit Lage. So I'm just going to play around it. Like our hand is not gonna be accelerated if we turn 1 Dork here anyways. So I think it's correct to just name Thespian Stage so we don't lose to it. Like it's not like this is gonna change the math much. 3 artisan is kind of bad here with no mana. And of course we accept losing to Loam here, but I don't think mold to endurance is a game plan either, or mold to force, right? Tomb. Okay, we don't really have any ETBs besides the Traxa, and it looks like they kept the Dark Depths hand, so I think this is probably game saving right now. Oh, that's true. Actually, I kind of like that, to be honest. Like, if they're gonna do that, like we can get our free 3/4s for no reason. Like, I actually don't even hate this the most. Like, it could actually help us. Um, I think we just do that, and then diverse. Is there a reason to diversify here in case it matters? Probably not. I doubt they have like engineer or something crazy like that. Okay, I think we're gonna see sagas now. I would imagine. I guess how confident is our opponent in the saga game plan? It can be okay, but like it's soft to a lot of things. So they did have the kill for what it's worth. The Mirror Age kill that we were protected against with Needle. See, the problem with Caracas too is that you have to like hold up Caracas. Uh, ugh. It's either 2 artisan or a noble. Actually, the other way is better. This hurting us a little bit here, but not the end of the world. So presumably 2 constructs plus a shadow spear, maybe. I feel like we can beat that, but we'll see. Like I said, if we lose this game here, it's on me for losing game 1 because I got sloppy. We did get punished game 2. To be honest, we could have easily got punished too if they hit a maze off the loam. There's a chance they just get needle here too. Oh, they're gonna pitch the they're gonna pitch the saga. Maybe get another saga, I'd imagine. Tabernacle. Okay, sure. Question here is, what do we do? The line here could be to grow the artisan, but to do that we'd have to lose a bunch of creatures. I don't think it's quite that yet. there's four here. We can only play. Actually, it's free to pitch the first one, I think. No, let's take it. And then race could matter now. See how if they're gonna tap out. Yeah. They go to nine. Okay. Oh my god. That's not what I want to see. I think we're forced to block here because of the blast zone now. Unfortunately, not working how I'm thinking. The loam is a problem. Well, actually, endurance doesn't even matter, so. No, I think. Yes. That's actually kind of funny. Oh, the attracts a trigger. The torpor orb stops it too, which is kind of annoying, but. I think we lost this game, unfortunately. But it's on me for game one, like I said. We didn't draw our. Well, I guess we drew the needle. We can't like super complain. But ideally, we could have drawn more of our sideboard cards and less artisan, which it's actually not that great in this matchup. Aside from the going tall like we did the game two. Yeah, I know, right? I think they're not gonna attack, but I could be wrong. I think the line here is we can't go bigger than their constructs now. I feel like we kind of almost have to just um, hope to top deck the cradle here. Actually, yeah, we still because they're gonna have a third one. There's the cradle, but the torpor orb is in play. Uh, question is, what do we get? Everything is answered by. Oh, they don't have map. That's actually good. So I think we. I think we still get the attraction, and then they're on needle or bus. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's the line. They have to block here. No, they have torpor orb. Okay, I actually messed up too. I don't know why I kept thinking that they had 5/5s. It's it. I didn't add in the extra damage there. Okay, they had the crop, so it didn't matter. Yeah. All right. Now we're dead. Um, I think we drew fairly below average here. Artisan's like not really a card I want to see multiples of in this matchup. At least not early on. But really, it's on me for losing game one. Game two was an example of like how one of our wins typically play out. Like you go tall with either Artisan or Exalted. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see an Exalted game, but I actually think the matchup is fine. If I didn't misplay game one because I like lost focus, I think we probably 2-0 there. Granted, they're on the play game too, so you don't know how that's gonna play out. And also, granted, they could technically draw well after being hell bent. Once we hit the loam with the endurance, but again, I think we're favored from that point. I'm not too concerned. Like it's only a league. It's for just to see how the deck feels, anyways. Uh, I do. The orb was like interesting there. I did think it was really good, and then like it's this shut off the natural order. Um, well, to an extent, right? We can still get Atraxa, but then like now our natural orders essentially don't work. But I still like it in I still think we can play through it most of the time. Like it's hard once they have it's hard once they have maze. The problem with maze though is they're down on land, and that's susceptible to getting hoofed by naturally, right? Like with our go wide plan, right? So it depends if they want to defend which axis, like the go wide or go tall. There they were able to defend or go tall plan. We even had to go wide, but they had the answer early on with the torpor orb and the crop rotation for the Atraxa. I think in absence of the crop rotation there, and granted that's probably not even a good assessment because they probably had it for a while. It's hard to say. Maybe the Atraxa gets there just being a 7/7 lifelinker, but there's a lot of conjecture at this point. Oops, I'm supposed to start another one. We did have outs for the Torpor Orb too, for what it's worth. We just didn't draw them. Um, Emperor Ubai. I don't think we can keep this. This is a 5 land hand. This is a 4 land hand, but like the ones should hit. Should, but it could not also, and that's exactly what happened here. Um, I think we take the Gris. The artisan actually doesn't do anything because we don't have any ramp here. The endurance also doesn't really do anything. I think we play the fetch in case they're like moon stompy or something. Ugh, I was afraid of that. I don't think I want to go to 5 there. I just hope the ones hits a 1 drop, and it didn't. So I don't want to run this into days and get it reanimated. I'm just gonna pass it. Well, we can once hit a 1 drop. I don't hate that. Although this is playing into Bowmasters here, so maybe that's not even worth it. If it's a Reclaimer, it's pretty neat though. So we'll see. Uh, I don't think we run this out here. We're gonna waste their mana. Yeah. Or waste their value, whatever you want to call it, right? It's telegraphed. If they tap out here, I think I'm gonna fetch for Arbor because I want to go. I want to take them off Murktide mana. Snuff out here would be annoying, but like we're not gonna play around one of. So we could get a Shepherd to force it through. I think kind of like that. If they want to force that, they can. Sure. We're gonna take two. It typically doesn't matter. I think. Okay. Kind of smells like Murtai, but damn it. I don't think we win. I think we're in trouble if we. I think we just have to hope it's not. Because then we're hellbent, right? And we already mulled. They have two forces, which is pretty nasty. We got a fade or removal spells here. Oh my god. What in the world is going on? It's actually part of our punish though. Like we missed out the once. So that like kind of set us up for failure. That's clutch. Got to fade one turn. They're gonna go everything at Grist probably. Oh my god, really? I just needed one turn off. Alright. Yeah, I don't think there's a way. Alright, that was unfortunate. I think we can still get both post-board games though. Hopefully we, you know, recover unlike against the Lands matchup. Although to be fair too, we did rip the land off the top when we needed it. I think really the game was lost once we missed off the once, which you know, you play with that card enough, it will happen. So I think that's an outlier you live with, because you know it's won a lot of matchups, other games in the past previously. So you take the wins with the losses, or vice versa, I guess. Take the losses with the wins. I think here we just want to develop stable mana and just get a lands. I think we take. So it depends if we want to play around the scam or we want to play around. I think we play around their scam. Because I think we're gonna have to buy time. It's unfortunate that once missed again. Thoughtseize probably, yeah. So the question here is just like, I'm probably gonna ramp. If they take one of the ramps, then I probably Bowmaster because you don't want to waste mana. And then if they want to daze the Bowmaster, I think you live with that. Okay, I actually don't think that's the. I think you just don't care. If they want to force something, they can. Let's see how my fantasy matchup is doing. My opponent, luckily, has James Cook, who hasn't been great. I have a quarterback problem. I drafted Anthony Richardson, but he's out for the year. And last week I played Baker Mayfield. Luckily, I didn't play him today. I don't think he's doing too hot, but I have to play Desmond Ritter. So the question here is, I think I'm gonna do it on main phase. Okay, they didn't do anything. That's kind of scary. Probably hit the shepherd. I gotta imagine. This is a crazy clock, though. Although it's a little bit scary because they could have engineer pretty soon. Like we would actually be soft to engineer here. That's a lot of damage. They most likely have. I was gonna say force, but that works. I feel like it's correct to attack with endurance there, but I could be wrong. It's a little awkward now because the shadow is bigger than everything we have. They might force this. Yeah. Uh-oh, I think that's engineer. Jesus. They had to block here. The engineer was like a 4 for 1. Oh my god. Did they pitch days? It just seems so dicey to run the force into the days there, but given that we had other lines, kind of hurt to miss the land drop there too. All right, didn't work out. I guess we can review what happened. I don't think that was like representative of how games normally play out. So we kept this. That was fine. I think we missed on land drop. Yeah, we did. We took an endurance. Took a bowmasters. So if we had hit land drop there, I think we're probably in business. Or here. I think with 6 cards in hand, you lose to days or force. I think it was correct for us to play it the way we did. And then again, right? Like we didn't want to run the natural order into the days, and then we missed the land drop again. Um, Granted, maybe they have force, maybe they don't. But the point is, if they don't, every turn is giving them another chance to draw the force. And then I think we just lost on the next turn. I think they had engineer next turn, but I could be wrong. That's why they didn't attack. I think. I mean, didn't block. Or sorry, I take that back. All right, kind of unfortunate. Usually, engineer not supposed to be good against us, but happens we draw, you know, 3 this game. All right, it is what it is. I think if I could change anything, I don't think so. I just don't think. I just think we didn't play the sharpest, that's for sure. And then in that particular game, I think we just low rolled there. If I could change something, I hate playing more lands because we're already like flooding a lot as is. But it's almost like we need to just hit our land drops, and we didn't there. Otherwise, I think the deck is probably fine. I would run it back, but it's already getting kind of late, and my wife's gonna be home. I have to watch the baby pretty soon. So let's go ahead and raid Evan Lewis here at Acolyte. Actually, let's go ahead and raid Legacy Pit since they raided me in the past. All right, here are my socials. For those of you who are curious, you just sub. Or if you want, you can just like join the Discord or watch the replay. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Good to see Levi, back in chat here, and thanks to Lord Beerus for the raid earlier. Unfortunately, we didn't have a night. We had kind of a lackluster league, but hopefully I can play better next time. All right, enjoy.
And go to my turn. And tap upkeep fetch.